wanted to get my streams in right quick. You know, even though my streams get immediately flagged, especially if I say something about, you know, the dude from Dallas. So his fanboys like will flag the video because it's just so corny. But okay, so Gary Russell Jr. on his first attempt didn't make weight, but he made weight, and now he has a fight against a Pacquiao protege, and that is the key word, protege. I mean, come on, you guys. How much longer are we supposed to keep watching Gary Russell Jr. fight these kind of guys? I've seen enough of this with Gary Russell Jr. fighting these type of guys. At the end of the day, it still come down to, you know, like I said, people just not telling the truth. People just half-assing it when it comes to putting out content. And I'm not putting out any agenda-based content. I'm putting out real boxing content. Like I said before, I'm tired of seeing Gary Russell Jr. fight these kind of guys. Gary Russell Jr. at age 33 don't have one signature marquee fight to his name that solidifies his career, you know, except the loss to Lomachenko, which, by the way, had Gary Russell Jr. got credit, had he got credit for that knockdown, which was clearly a knockdown, Gary Russell Jr. would have possibly at least got a draw against Lomachenko. You know, maybe he got a split decision. Remember, Lomachenko won majority decision, but Gary Russell Jr. clearly knocked Lomachenko down and didn't get credit for the knockdown. And people can argue about it all they want, but it was a knockdown. Just like technically Zab Zuda dropped Floyd Mayweather because Floyd Mayweather's glove hit the canvas. So technically that should have been a knockdown, but you know, it is what it is. They didn't count it. So if Gary Russell Jr., then what's next for Gary Russell Jr.? Once again, it's always what's next, or should I say, see you in a year and a half, Gary Russell Jr. Because more than likely, Gary Russell Jr. won't get another fight. He won't get another fight this year because Gary Russell Jr., for some apparent reason, only fights once a year. But yet we fixated on worrying about other people, but we won't call out other people. And I'm going to continue to say what I want to say. So that's the problem. What's next for Gary Russell Jr. if he's victorious? That's the question. Or should I say, when will be the next time we see Gary Russell Jr.? And then who's going to be the next, you know what I'm saying, meaningless fight or meaningless opponent they're going to put in the ring with Gary Russell Jr.? That's just going to have you like, wow. I would love to see Gary Russell Jr. versus, you know, if everything went according to plan, Gary Russell Jr. like move up and possibly, you know, fight Shakur Stevenson. But we know that's not going to happen. We know that fight won't happen. Because at the end of the day, you got dudes on here, you got managers and unpaid promoters that want to sit up there and cape for people that ain't even paying them. But we know that, like I said, we know that's not going to happen. That would be a great fight. But it's not going to happen. Because one, it makes too much sense. And it's a doable fight. It would be a good fight. It would be an interesting fight. But we know it's not going to happen. So why bother? Why bother? Because like I said, on YouTube, you got content creators caping for people that don't even give a damn about them, that won't even give them the time of the day. And won't even give us the fights that we want to see. So, remember a couple of days ago, it's looking like Canelo Alvarez and Charlo is going to lock horns. Looking like it's going to be Cinco de Mayo weekend. Hopefully if they can get everything in order, depending on what, tasks or loop or hoops that they want Jamal to jump through to get the Canelo fight. That's what it's going to come down to, what type of, obstacles that Canelo is going to put in play for Jamal Charlo. And from my knowledge, once again, it'll be another fight-by-fight basis. Still no long-term deal. And Canelo is going to get paid a large amount of money. But hey, that's what they do. That's what they do. They got all the money in the world for Canelo, but then they don't know what they want to give Terence Crawford. But then at the same time, you got dudes sitting up here like, doing what they do best, which is devalue another black fighter. Now, where Oscar De La Hoya, I don't know how old it is, where Oscar De La Hoya kind of admitted that Canelo was avoiding what you would call, tough black fighters. Well, how do that to begin with? As far as Charlo go, you've been hearing, look, behind the scenes, I've been hearing that Jamal been having trouble making 160 for a while. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But I've been hearing that Jamal been having trouble making 160 for a while. That he's grew out of 160 for a while. They're saying 168. You may see hit, you may see the real Jamal Charlo come out. So I don't know. Hit a blind spot. Now some people think that Canelo is gonna brutally knock out Jamal Charlo. I don't know. Charlo got a chin. Charlo got a chin. But like I said before, I told y'all Canelo I told y'all that Canelo didn't want no parts of Arthur Beterbiev. What do that have to do with it with Gary Russell Jr.? What literally saying that he had, that he would like do that to the dude. I got to be careful what type of dialogue I use on YouTube. I can't repeat certain stuff like that because they already be harassing my channel anyway, especially when it comes to these live streams, because they don't like to monetize my live stream. That's why I don't do a lot of them, because I get tired of having to appeal them, and then they get basically monetized after a week, and then I've already done maybe 30 videos since then, so really I don't make no money off of them. So but I don't understand what did that have to do with Terence Crawford. I mean you had Jamal Charlo saying that he was going to send some goons after Deontay Wilder. So what do that have to do with anything? Just wondering. That always seemed to be the theme. Anything Terence Crawford say is highlighted, but if somebody directs something towards Terence Crawford, then all of a sudden it's ignored. But I mess with both of them. So, I just want the best for Gary Russell Jr., and I don't like how Gary Russell Jr. has been treated over the years. Where a lot of people don't have the guts to say it, but they sitting up here making a little subliminals about people sucking up the top rank to get press credentials by sucking up the Lomachenko. I don't know, was they referring to me? Because y'all done seen my videos about Lomachenko, so if that was a sneak diss, I'm responding to the dude that said that. I've never backed off my stance versus Lomachenko. And if you guys follow my channel, criticized Lomachenko to the fullest. I said from the gate that Lomachenko was never pound for pound #1 best fighter on the planet. I said there's no way a dude that lost his second professional fight and lost to a dude with double-digit losses can be anybody's pound for pound #1 best fighter. So if that was like a little sneak diss, that's my response to that. The same way you know, because like I said, I don't kiss nobody's ass to get press credentials. But the funny thing is, nobody likes to talk about how the PBC shuts black media out too. But you know, it is what it is. Anybody that follow my channel know that I've ripped Lomachenko to shreds. I think he's a good fighter, but I don't think he's a great fighter. And and you guys know when Bob Arum said that Lomachenko probably could beat Floyd Mayweather, I laughed. I made a video responding directly to that. Floyd would have shellacked Vasily Lomachenko. Wouldn't even have been a competitive fight. Pretty boy Floyd would have knocked Lomachenko out in like 4 rounds. Maybe 6. So, you know. So, that's always been my stance. I've never thought Lomachenko was #1 pound for pound. And I thought it was a slap in the face when ESPN had Lomachenko ranked #1. First of all, the dude with less than 15 fights under his belt, anybody's #1 pound for pound. Keeping the buck, this got to be said. Could it be because of that video I made earlier today? But I wouldn't exactly consider Charlo a slick fighter. He's a tough fighter, but I wouldn't exactly call him a slick fighter. I mean, he got a great jab. You know, he got a great hard jab. He has power, but he doesn't have the best footwork. Doesn't use feints very much. And there's certain things he don't do that would qualify him as a slick fighter. Demetrius Andrade, yeah, slick as oil. But the thing is, let's put this in retrospective. Even if Canelo fights Jamal Charlo, look how long it took him to get the confidence to fight him. But like I said before, this could be fool's gold. What if Charlo go in there and he beat Canelo? Let's just face the fact, Canelo do got a history of maneuvering around certain type of fights, certain type of styles. I think David Beterbiev has a style that would give Canelo a lot of trouble. Demetrius Andrade has a style that would give Canelo a lot of trouble. I mean, hell, let's just go back to the Caleb Plant fight. I don't know why nobody wants to tell the truth about the Caleb Plant fight. You know, Canelo fans get mad when you tell the truth, and they think they can come on your channel, thinking they can try to internet bully you, which I think is laughable, because at the end of the day, quiet is kept. I'm just telling the truth. I watched that fight closely, and I have no horse in the race. I'm not Mexican, and I'm definitely not white. You know, didn't have no money on the fight or nothing. But I thought Caleb Plant was winning that fight into the stoppage. See, here's the thing, you guys. You got to understand, I have my own mind. I don't listen to what Showtime is saying. I don't care what Steve Farhood is saying. I don't care what Al Bernstein is saying. I don't care what Abner Mares is saying. Moro Ronaldo. I don't care what those dudes are saying. You know why? Because I'm me. I'm going by my eye test. And what I was seeing was, I saw Caleb Plant outboxing Canelo. Now, Canelo did get the stoppage. But if you watch that fight closely, he struggled against Caleb Plant. And I think the only reason why Caleb Plant didn't win that fight was because of politics. And then also he didn't have the experience. Because I saw a lot of missed opportunity for Caleb Plant too, where he could have secured the rounds more decisively. But I had Caleb Plant winning that fight into the stoppage. And the people that I was congregating with, a lot of them, they believed that Caleb Plant was ahead into the stoppage. But then Canelo fans, who's mostly made up of Mexicans, they call themselves having an attitude because you wouldn't comply to what they wanted you to say, which is, oh, Canelo was dominating. Well, sorry, you got the wrong channel. No, Canelo wasn't dominating. Well, the people on Showtime, I don't care about the people on Showtime. Canelo was losing that fight. Now he started to turn it towards the later rounds, but he was getting outboxed. He was getting outboxed, and that's real talk. And I think if they revisit this situation, let's just say they fight three years down the line, which probably Canelo probably will be retired by then. I bet you Caleb Plant beat him. So, just telling the truth. So if Canelo struggled against a guy like Caleb Plant didn't have the experience for Canelo. That's just truthful. That's just the truth. And then here's this other thing as far as the pound for pound list go. And I'm gonna say this again. People love to holler about, oh, it's impossible for Terence Crawford to be pound for pound #1 best fighter in the planet. How? Why? Why is that impossible? Because we have to say Canelo is? Nah, it doesn't work that way. I have a right to disagree. Like I said, I have Terence Crawford pound for pound best fighter on the planet. He's #1. I'll tell that to anybody. I'll go on a Showtime format. I'll go on a DAZN format. I'll go on I'll go on anybody's format and say that. And people will try to say, well, who is Crawford at fault? Well, who has Canelo faulted? Let's not make it look like Canelo is asking for the best guys. Even when he goes up in weight, he doesn't ask for the best guys. He's not asking for the best guy at cruiserweight, whoever that is. Even if he tried to fight at heavyweight, he's not going to ask for the best heavyweight. When he was at junior welterweight, he didn't ask for the best junior welterweights. When he was at middleweight, he didn't ask for the best middleweights. He'll fight a good fighter, but he won't fight the best guys out there. That is factual. You see when he beat Sergey Kovalov, who had already previously been knocked out twice. You see when they brought up Arthur Beterbiev's name, you see he quickly relinquished that belt and moved back down. And then you had them talking about, oh, he may go back up to 175. Canelo don't want none of Arthur Beterbiev. He don't want none of that. Which I told y'all he didn't want none of that. I told people when look, him and his trainer Eddie Reynoso, they not on the same page. Eddie Reynoso want him to fight Arthur Beterbiev. Oh yeah, and let me get to Alexander Boslik. Let me tell y'all something. It's a trap. Alexander said that Arthur Beterbiev's power is overrated. He said that Artur Beterbiev power. Okay, well, if that's the case, how come after Arthur Beterbiev beat your ass, you retired? Why'd you retire then? Why after that ass whooping you took via Arthur Beterbiev, you said, well, why won't you come back? Who retires after losing their first fight? Arthur Beterbiev sent that dude into retirement. Dude is setting Canelo up. I guess he like, well, I want Canelo to feel some of that. Like I said, if Arthur Beterbiev don't got no power and his power is overrated, how come he retired then? How come after he stopped you, you went into retirement? Answer that question. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that means you coming back. How come you didn't ask for a rematch then? That's my question. That's my question. Well, why, when you coming out of retirement then? Well, I'll talk about that later. This is not the stream to talk about that, but that's unfortunate, and I'll talk about that later on. Just put the story in one of my my regular videos, and I'll tackle it later on. But I'll talk about that later on. But right now, we talking boxing. But I appreciate that though. But anyway. Yeah, but anyway, like I said before, it's a lot of people out there. This is just real talk. Believe me, everybody ain't for Canelo. It's people that want to see Canelo get his ass beat, because a lot of people believe he's a fraudulent number one pound for pound fighter. Because to be honest with you, I know he's considered undisputed super middleweight, but at the end of the day, technically he didn't beat all the champions for the belt. He sat up there, he waited for David Beterbiev to get the belt taken from him, and then he asked for the fight for an eliminator. Or basically like a form of form of a bracket. And then he got the belt, and then he went on to fight Caleb Plant. So technically, he didn't win all the belts in the ring, so that's why people question Canelo. Then also, this is just factual. Canelo has been busted. And then the WBC has adjusted the rules for Canelo to have the mystery meet. The same way they adjusted the rules for Valdez. And if you look at what some of these fighters have tested positive for, they're considered banned substances. They're considered performance enhancers. But then they go to this thing, oh, well, we'll adjust it and say, well, you can have a certain amount of your system before it's considered a dirty test. But when Mauricio Solobon pulls this kind of stuff, then everybody don't like him. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the WBC, which was supposed to be at one time the most prestigious belt, has became the most laughable belt. Because they clearly favor Hispanic fighters, and particularly Mexican fighters. They have made more adjustments and turned a blind eye to Mexican fighters than, you know what I'm saying, to anybody else. But people trying to make it look like, oh, well, we're just making this up. And they've done it right in our face. Just like this whole thing, I'm going to tell you something. Now, they will work with the PBC. But they'll work with the PBC because we know that Al Heyman favors Mexicans over black fighters. All you got to do is look at the PBC pay-per-views. I mean, that's all you got to do. Just look at their pay-per-views. You look at mostly Errol Spence pay-per-views. They ain't no brothers on Errol Spence pay-per-views. You look at the Keith Thurman pay-per-view. Ain't no brothers on there except for Keith Thurman. So it would make a lot of sense for them to bring Canelo back and throw like $40 million at them, because keep in mind, Tim Smith said out of his own mouth that he don't think a fight between two black fighters could sell. But then you got these so-called fake black media sitting up there co-signing that crap. Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence will do anywhere from 600,000 to possibly 800,000 pay-per-views, which would make it a profitable event. Now that came out of Tim Smith's mouth. Oh, we don't feel we have the resources to pay Terence Crawford or give him what he wants. Oh, because he ain't a pay-per-view star. And like I said, you got these dudes coming on here co-signing that stuff. They're supposed to call themselves being black media. But then they're devaluing another black man. So, I mean, it is what it is with these dudes. And I'm going to keep coming after them. And I'm going to keep calling them out, and I'm going to keep exposing them. I need for somebody to tell me where am I lying at. When was the last pay-per-view you see Chris Colbert on? Steve Fulton, Jerron Business. You know, I'm just saying. People mad at me because I'm calling it right down the middle. People don't get mad at me because I'm telling the truth and I'm exposing y'all. I need somebody to explain that to me. I need somebody to explain that to me. Like, if you look at their pay-per-views, yeah, they may have one or two black dudes that might be the headliner, but if you look at the undercards are anything but blacks. What black fighter was on Tank's last pay-per-view card, except for Tank? What, maybe one? And this is why these Negroes get mad at me, because they don't have the guts to say what I'm saying. Like I said, you gotta have that energy towards everybody. Well, if you're furious at Bob Arum for doing what's expected, you should be even more enraged when you got a black man in Al Heyman that's pretty much doing the same thing. Like I said, when they pulled that crap with Terence Crawford, with Wilder Fury 1, that told me all I needed to know. My eyes was wide open when they pulled that junk. And then you got people that'll bring up a video of see, this is where I catch these dudes at. See, let me tell you how I blow these dudes out the water, though. This is where I catch these fraudulent pro-black, you know what I'm saying, phonies. Okay, they'll pull up an old video where Errol Spence said, well, he ain't getting promoted right at Top Rank, right? They always putting Lomachenko on a higher pedestal than Terence Crawford. But at the same time, Errol Spence only wants to give Terence Crawford 70-30 or at the worst 80-20. Right? So you ain't that damn black. And you don't feel that bad for Terence Crawford, because you sure don't want to give him a decent percentage. I bet you Danny Garcia ain't getting. I bet you Danny Garcia didn't get no 80-20 or no 70-30. I bet you Ugas ain't getting no 70-30 or no 80-20. But you want Bud to take. But you want the number one pale fighter on the planet to take 80-20 or 70-30. But then these dudes get mad at me because I'm pointing that out. Which, by the way, I just want to let you guys know I don't give a fuck. So I'm just, so I just need somebody to explain that to me, where at the same time you criticizing Bob Arum, but at the same time you're using his words as a means to try to use that as an excuse for justification. So you using somebody's words for justification. So obviously you ain't that much different from Bob Arum, because you're using his words for justification on why Terence Crawford is supposed to do this or supposed to do that. I just need somebody to explain that to me. For real. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. See, nobody can answer that. Yeah. See, nobody wants to talk about that. You'll sit up there and say, "Oh, well, I don't like how Terence Crawford is getting treated at top rank." But however, he's still, Bob ain't promoting him right. That's why he should take 80-20 to fight me, because of what Bob did to him. Okay. Because if you was on a real brother tip, if you was on some real black stuff, you would say, okay, we'll figure this out. How about this? 50-50. Or how about this? We'll sign a 2-fight deal. We'll run it back. 50-50. First fight, the winner get 60-40. You see, that ain't been getting offered. If you on some real brother stuff, because Errol Spence and Terence Crawford could do a 2-fight deal. So you could throw that fake pro-black shit out the door. I mean, that's for all the dudes that's playing Fanager. And I just want to say this again. I don't give a flying fuck about you being mad at me, because I'm going to keep spitting this truth. See, nobody wants to talk about that. At the same time, you sitting up talking about how a white man is devaluing Terence Crawford, but you're using that white man's words to devalue a black fighter for the sake of caping for another guy. Because that's what this is all about. This is about caping for another dude. That's all it's come down to. So like I said, everybody sees this. Well, anybody with common sense would see what's going on. I mean, for real, take off your PVC cape. Take off your Errol Spence cape and see what's going on. You'll sit up there and say that this dude is doing this, Bob Arum is doing this, Bob Arum is doing that, but at the same time, you're siding with him. And I'm going to tell you something else. I think Keith Thurman said more than what he was supposed to say. I think he got caught up in the moment. But I had told somebody behind the scenes. I already told people. And I said this was going to happen. Don't be surprised. I said, don't be surprised if Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence is next. They're going to keep pushing this Crawford fight as far back as they can. So that's not true. Well, and then all of a sudden, these same people come making videos are going, oh, well, what Mauricio Solobon said, now all of a sudden, when it favors your agenda, now all of a sudden what Mauricio Solobon says is the gospel. Right. How many lies? How many times have Mauricio Solobon changed his mind? He don't know if the franchise built a real belt or sometime he built or a belt at all. First it wasn't a belt, then it became a belt. Then when it came to a black fighter, it might or might not be a belt. Man, I told you I'm giving y'all this work. I'm hitting y'all up, man. I'm hitting y'all upside y'all head with the truth. Now all of a sudden, Mauricio Solobon, he says something like, but I wouldn't be surprised. As punishment, they might feed Keith Thurman to Terence Crawford. Because he wasn't supposed to say that. And I don't think Keith Thurman was lying. Why would Keith Thurman make up something about that? Now it's kind of funny now. Now Keith Thurman don't have no interest in fighting Terence Crawford. But it's no guarantee that Ugas he had that fight. So don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen. And boy, you know what I'm saying? Boy, would people be, man, I don't even want to think what would happen if Ugas ended up winning that fight. It'll be like Little Blade Ice with, boy, would you boss up and get your money, Well, Pratt, stay tuned. You never know. Stay tuned. Well, I'm not worried about what happened in the amateurs. The amateurs don't mean nothing. We all know the amateurs have a different scoring system. So I wouldn't sit up there banking on the amateurs to define a guaranteed victory for Ugas. Remember, in boxing, you going 12 rounds, not 3. And we all know the history of the Olympics and scoring. We remember what happened to Floyd Mayweather. We remember what happened to, you know what I'm saying, Roy Jones Jr. So, you know, I'm just saying. So I wouldn't sit up there banking on amateurs. Now, if he would have knocked him out, that's a different story. But then again, that don't mean nothing. So I'm just saying. Well, I didn't say that Ugas wasn't a real threat. I just said amateurs versus pros don't mean nothing. That's why it's called amateurs. Vasil Lomachenko had over 400 amateur fights and ended up losing his second professional fight to a dude with double-digit losses. So once again, what do that mean? I'm just saying, I'm not one of them that go ooh, I know, like the Smurfs about what happened in the amateurs. Amir Khan? For anybody that listened to my channel, who been listening to my channel for a while, I made this prediction about Amir Khan and it came to fruition. It isn't for the people that's been here from the gate. I told you that Amir Khan's fighting style wasn't going to be very effective when Amir Khan got into his 30s. And lo and behold, look what happened to Amir Khan. And I'm going to tell you, Amir Khan has an amateur style. I want you to look at Amir Khan's fight. He throws a lot of combinations, resets, and comes back with the same combination. Amir Khan doesn't know how to break a fighter down. And that's his problem. He fights the same way every fight. He's not a one punch. He's not a dude that'll come with a jab, then come with a feint, then come with a 2-punch combination instead of a 3. Amir Khan has an amateur style. It will work for a lot of different fighters, but then it's not going to work for every fighter. You see what happened with Canelo. It worked with Canelo the first 3 rounds. But then Canelo started like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the fight to him. I'm going to start getting off first. I'm going to start whacking him. And that's one thing that Canelo can do. He can switch it up. Amir Khan has the same format every fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch combination. Reset. Come back in. Same combination. Hardly uses the jab. Hardly goes to the body. Has somebody actually taught Amir Khan how to actually box? Amir Khan, based off his speed, but then again, his chin was always his Achilles heel. The Kell Brook fight is going to be interesting because both of these men are well past their prime. But I told you this. I said that Amir Khan's fighting style was not going to fare well for him when he got into his 30s. And boy, was I ever so right. Man, was I right. So, as far as the Kell Brook fight, I'm just going to tell you this much. Just watch it for the sake of being a boxing fan. I wouldn't put too much stock into this. I think this is the end of the road for both of them, or close to the end of the road. Now, how I evaluate both of them as a fighter, I think both of them are borderline Hall of Famers. I don't think neither one of them is first ballot. Like I said, Amir Khan, he had some good moments, but his chin was always his Achilles heel. I know everybody want to talk about that Floyd Mayweather ducked him or whatever the case may be. Floyd would have beat Amir Khan. Floyd would have struggled probably the first 4 rounds because he would have had a hard time trying to adjust to Amir Khan's speed. But then Floyd would have made adjustment. He would have brought the fight to Amir Khan. He would have started pot-shotting Amir Khan with his lead left, started hitting Amir Khan with body shots, and I think Floyd would have ended up winning the fight. Either decision or Floyd would have got a late stoppage. I know Amir Khan always makes these remarks regarding his chin and say, oh, well, I think the stuff about my chin is like overblown. No, you don't got a good chin. We've seen you knocked silly. We've seen Amir Khan. So when Amir Khan tries to tell us, well, he think the thing about his chin is overblown. No, we've seen Amir Khan badly hurt. I mean, he was badly hurt by light punching Chris Algieri. Pretis Prescott knocked him silly in 1 round. Canelo, if Amir Khan was a cat, he would have and had 9 lives. Canelo knocked like 3 of them out of him. He quit against Terence Crawford. So I'm just saying, if you look at all of Amir Khan's losses, most of his losses have came being stopped. Danny Garcia, and you know the thing about Danny Garcia didn't even hit Amir Khan in the face. It was a counter. He hit him in the neck. He hit him with a neck punch. So when I hear Amir Khan say this stuff, who is he trying to convince? We've all seen Amir Khan badly hurt. We've all seen Amir Khan get, let me see. He has what, 5 or 6 losses? Now I'm gonna watch it, D, because this is what I do. So I'm gonna watch it just like I'm gonna watch Gary Russell in another meaningless fight. Another fight that nobody can. I'm talking about, like I said, Gary Russell Jr. might have one of the worst resumes that I've ever seen as far as a boxer. All the talent in the world. Like I say, 33 years old, don't have one legacy signature fight to his name. Team Lomachenko said they was moving on after the Gary Russell Jr. fight. I asked Lomachenko in an interview would he consider fighting Gary Russell Jr. He said, nah, he said he moved on. So, you know, but yeah, as far as Amir Khan go, Amir Khan had got his soul knocked out of him before. So I'm just saying, if y'all seen the new Spider-Man, it's a trick that Dr. Strange did where he knocked Peter Parker like out of his suit, and then he jumped back in it. That's what did happen to Amir Khan. Amir Khan got knocked out of his body frame a couple of times. He don't have a good chin. Like I said, if you throw a bag of Doritos at Amir Khan's chin, he might go down. You know what I'm saying? For real. You throw a wet sock at Amir Khan and hit him flush in the chin, he might go down for the 10 count. He has a fragile chin. That's just factual. So I'm just saying, how many times have you seen him do the Flintstone flop? I'm just saying. So, all right, you guys. Hey, D, if you do a live stream, I'll pop up. It's my computer and it's my phone for some reason. I got all these bugs. This is why it's hard for me to join these other channels and stuff. But I'm working on that right now. But anyway, thanks for listening. Peace out.